everyone, my name is Melissa Domcheska and I'll be presenting on the social cognitive theory. To begin, here is my infographic on the theory. I began by discussing the background of the theory as it was developed in the 1960s by Albert Bandura. I then discussed the importance of the triadic reciprocal determinism model upon which this theory is based, meaning that interpersonal factors, behavioral factors, and environmental factors are all interconnected. There are several principles about this theory, such as how it is usually applied to complex behaviors, and there are strong impacts of the social and physical environment on behavioral change. The major determinants of behavior are outcome expectations, outcome expectancies, self-efficacy, behavioral capability, perceived behavior of others, and the environment. The theory was again developed in the 1960s by Albert Bandura. It was originally called the social learning theory and was developed into the social cognitive theory in 1986. Learning occurs with an interaction between interpersonal, behavioral, and environmental factors, and again there is the foundation of the triadic reciprocal determinism model, meaning that the three factors of interpersonal, behavioral, and environmental factors are all interconnected. In 1961, Albert Bandura conducted an experiment with 72 children aged 3 to 6 from the Stanford University Nursery School. He studied the social behavior, specifically aggression, in children through observation and imitation. The children were broken up into 3 experimental groups. First, 24 children were exposed to aggressive behavior of a Bobo doll by adults. Adults would punch, kick, or verbally abuse the doll in front of the children. 24 children were exposed to non-aggressive modeling, such as the adult playing and ignoring the Bobo doll. And 24 children were not exposed to any model at all and acted as a control group. The results found that children who observed the aggressive model were more likely to be aggressive themselves compared to non-aggressive or control groups. Girls in the aggressive model were more physically aggressive if the model was male and more verbally aggressive if the model was female. However, there were no differences in gender for boys. Boys imitated more physical aggressive acts than girls. They found that children learn through social behavior through observational learning, or perceived behavior of others, a key construct in the social cognitive theory. It created implications for further research in interpersonal violence, domestic violence, and media violence, and how these forms of violence expose our children. The constructs of social cognitive theory include outcome expectations, or a person's judgment of the consequence of the behavior. For example, somebody obtaining a flu shot would have the consequence of having protection against the flu. Outcome expectancies, or the value that is placed on certain behavior. Self-efficacy, or confidence in one's own self in accomplishing a behavior. The collective efficacy, which is the capacity of a community to accomplish goals as a whole, or the social norms approve of the public. Behavioral capability, where individual understands the behavior change and how to implement it effectively. Reinforcements, consequences of behavior that promote or inhibit the behavior, such as rewards or punishments. Perceived behavior of others, such as the learning through observation that was seen in the Bobo doll experiments, and also the environment, which can facilitate and support health-promoting change and socially affect consequences and reinforcement. As for application in public health intervention planning, the social cognitive theory can be used as a theory of self-regulation. It would be best utilized in Step 2, program outcomes and objectives and logic models of change. The characteristics of Step 2 include behaviors to benefit the health outcome, or behavior, personal determinants such as those interpersonal factors, and environmental conditions. This goes along with the triadic reciprocal determinism model. That is, again, the foundation of the social cognitive theory. The first case study I found was about initiating breastfeeding in new mothers and midwives. A qualitative study was done to understand mothers' and midwives' expectations, knowledge, experiences, and self-efficacy of breastfeeding initiation and sustainment. It included 18 women and 18 midwives. The women were part of focus groups, while the midwives were part of semi-structured interviews. There was a focus on the environment, expectations, and self-efficacy. The results of this study found that busy and stressful hospital environments post-birth hindered the initiation of breastfeeding and self-efficacy. New mothers were under stress of the noise and the busyness around them and thought that they did not have the support of the midwives who had multiple patients to attend to. Both groups had high outcome expectations, but this decreased with adversity, such as difficulty in initiating breastfeeding. Observational learning or vicarious experience was high with midwives because they had colleagues to look to for advice. However, this was low with new mothers as they did not have a connection with other new mothers who were also trying to initiate breastfeeding with their babies. Good outcome expectations led to a high self-efficacy and confidence in continuing the behavior. However, if there was any difficulty in breastfeeding, such as the difficulty in getting the baby to latch or having a sleepy baby who was not interested in learning yet, led to low future self-efficacy. Mothers in this scenario thought themselves to be failures and then did not want to continue trying for the behavior. This was a negative reinforcement behavior. The implications were environment, realistic expectations of breastfeeding, increasing the self-efficacy of mothers, and increasing support services from the midwives. The pros of the study were the environment and situations specific of using the social cognitive theory. There was a deeper understanding of outside influences versus simply the behavior alone, such as accounting for the stressful environment of the hospital as a deterrent to breastfeeding initiation. The cons were a small sample size, selection bias, as the mothers and midwives both opted to be included in the study. It did also not account for biological or any hormonal issues that may hinder breastfeeding, does not have anything to do with behavior or self-efficacy. It was found that there was a lack of education about realistic breastfeeding goals. There was also a lack of reinforcement for continuing behavior post-hospital discharge. There were also low outcome expectancies or values. I propose that constructs of the health belief model be added to this theory to help improve education and awareness of breastfeeding initiation. Perceived susceptibility would teach mothers of prevention of future childhood illnesses. Perceived severity would be confidence in future medical care and lower perceived risk of illness in their children in the future. Perceived benefits were better attachment or bonding and future self-regulation skills of their children. Perceived barriers could be offset by positive social support from family, community, counselors, and the midwives in the study. This would increase education and self-efficacy for having realistic outcome expectations of breastfeeding initiation and sustainment. The second study I examined studied relational aggression in early adolescence. Relational aggression, in terms of this study, was defined as non-physical and harming another's relationships or social standing, such as social peer exclusion or spreading rumors. It was a longitudinal study that lasted 2 years that was conducted in 4 public middle schools in the Midwest. It accounted for the social cognitive theory, such as the psychological factors that influence social cognition and the learning by observation or reinforcement. The results of the study found that age, race, and gender were not associated with relational aggression over time. However, as an individual's impulsivity, anger, and delinquency within themselves increased over time, they also individually reported increased relational aggression towards their peers. Between subjects, the depressive symptoms and peer delinquency increased, and then relational aggression increased over time as well. The study found overall that if peers had an affiliation with delinquent peers or those who showed devious behavior, it was the strongest indicator of relational aggression. This goes back to the modeling or the perceived behavior of others and the learning model. The pros of the study were that it focused on the interpersonal and behavioral factors. It highlighted the importance of peer connection and supported previous evidence of the social cognitive theory. However, more work in school systems were needed to improve peer attitudes and cohesiveness among students. The cons was that the study was not generalizable to the overall general population. The reports of social exclusion, threatening behavior, and telling lies were also self-reported. It did not evaluate the impact of cyberbullying and cyberaggression. It did not examine classroom or school levels because of the low amount of variability on these levels. There was less of a focus on environmental factors for peer support. Therefore, to fill in these gaps, I propose the theory of planned behavior, which includes the constructs of attitudes towards behavior, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. Attitudes toward behavior would answer the question, what is the outcome of the belief? What are these students seeking? Is it popularity, revenge, fitting in? And what is causing the attitude that could lead to delinquency or deviant behavior? Subjective norms are social expectations because of the observed behavior. For example, the study found that a high delinquency led to high relational aggression. However, on the other end, high pro-social activities could lead to reduced relational aggression. So creating a social norm in an environment that leans more towards pro-social activities could lead to lowered relational aggression. Perceived behavioral control is similar to the self-efficacy construct of the social cognitive theory. It could increase confidence in pro-social support. However, there are several limitations of the social cognitive theory. It assumes changes in the environment will cause changes in the person. It is unclear which construct of reciprocal determinism is most influential, if any of them are. It does not account for biological or hormonal causes of behavior, regardless of experience or expectations. For example, the women in the breastfeeding study had high expectations of breastfeeding, but the study did not account for any biological or hormonal causes that would lead to more difficulty in initiating breastfeeding. It is also difficult to apply to more complex social determinants of health, including poverty, insurance, educational attainment, or access to food or resources, or, for example, social determinants that are difficult to change on a community or environmental level. Therefore, when conducting a health behavior change or an intervention, it is important to take multiple constructs from multiple theories. Overall, the social cognitive theory has important future implications for behavior change and health intervention. It accounts for the environment and environmental changes. It also focuses on reinforcement of positive behaviors for the sustainability of the behavior change in the long term, and also utilizing collective efficacy to shift social norms on a community or environmental level. Finally, it accounts for individual cognitions, supports interpersonal relations, and the external factors of the environment. Thank you for listening.